Every period of hardship has exposed one truth that never changes. Whether you study the Dust Bowl homesteaders, the trench gardeners of the First World War, or the wartime victory growers scraping food out of backyard clay, history shows that survival often comes down to the soil beneath your feet. Not the land you wish you had, not the fields you dream of, but the stubborn, compacted, unforgiving ground right in front of you. The people who thrived were not those with perfect soil. They were the ones who knew how to break dead earth open and turn it into a living, fertile system. They did it without fancy machines, without synthetic fertilizers, and often under circumstances where a single failed season could be deadly. Today, the world is different, but the stakes feel familiar to anyone who wants independence, resilience, and real food security. If your soil is hard, lifeless, and resistant to every shovel strike, stay with me. By the end of this guide, you will understand exactly how to loosen even the toughest ground and transform it into productive, fertile soil that grows more food with less effort. And you'll do it using the same principles that kept families alive through history's harshest farming conditions. Understanding why hard soil forms is the first key to learning how to fix it. Compacted soil isn't a sign that your land is hopeless. It's a sign that the soil's structure has collapsed. Overgrazing, foot traffic, machinery, and years without organic matter press soil particles so tightly together that roots can't penetrate and water can't drain. Historically, farmers recognized this problem instantly because hard ground meant weak harvests and food shortages. Modern growers face the same challenge when clay turns into concrete or sandy soil locks up into a dry crust. The solution begins with understanding what hard soil lacks: air pockets, organic material, microbial life and structure. Once you know what's missing, the path to rebuilding becomes clear. Breaking the surface layer is necessary before anything else will work. Hard ground often repels tools, water, and amendments because the top crust is sealed like old pottery. In many historical farming communities, people use broad forks, digging sticks, or hoes to fracture the first few inches. You can apply this today by using a garden fork or even a metal bar to punch openings through the crust. You don't need to till deeply, just create pathways for moisture and organic matter to enter. A practical example is marking a small square metre area and driving the fork in every 10 centimetres, rocking it back to fracture the soil. This step alone allows the next layers of soil repair to take hold. Adding organic matter is what brings dead soil back to life. Once the top layer is opened, the most important step begins. Soil becomes loose and fertile only when it is fed. Historically, this meant manure, leaf litter, straw, kitchen scraps, and plant residues. These materials decompose, creating humus that separates soil particles and forms natural air pockets. Today, you can follow the same principle by spreading compost, leaf mould, shredded bark, or aged manure over the freshly fractured soil. If the ground is extremely hard, this organic matter should be laid thickly and watered so it begins breaking down right away. A real-world method is to apply a layer 10 centimetres thick, soak it thoroughly, and let it rest for a week before planting. Over time, earthworms and microbes pull this material downward, loosening the soil from the inside. Using cover crops, well, it really forces nature to do the heavy lifting for you. One of the oldest and honestly most effective methods for loosening hard ground is using plants themselves as tools. Historical farmers, they relied on deep-rooted species to punch channels through compacted earth and fix nutrients. These days, cover crops like cowpeas, alfalfa, clover, mustard and radish can do exactly this. Their roots drive downward, opening tunnels for water and air. When they die back or are cut down, these roots decompose, leaving permanent pathways that improve soil structure. A practical method: just plant a dense cover of cowpeas in the dry season, let them grow until flowering, then cut them at the base and leave the residue on top. Over the next several months, the soil underneath will become crumbly, darker and, noticeably easier to work. Moisture management, in truth, determines how quickly soil transforms. Hard soil often stays dry on the surface and bone-hard beneath, because it simply cannot absorb or hold moisture. Water is essential to soften the soil and support microbial activity, but if the soil is compacted, water just runs off instead of sinking in. After you fracture the surface and apply organic matter, regular slow watering becomes crucial. Historically, farmers flooded small basins or used clay pot irrigation to keep soil moist for long periods. Today, you can replicate this by watering slowly in stages. Apply a little water, let it soak, then repeat. Mulching the surface prevents evaporation and encourages earthworms to rise. Over several weeks, the combination of moisture and organic material begins transforming the soil texture dramatically. Repeating the cycle, that's really what turns hard earth into long-term fertile soil. Loosening hard ground isn't a single event, it's a cycle. First you fracture, then you feed, then you plant cover crops, then you mulch, and then, you repeat. Each cycle improves the soil deeper than the last. A practical application is to work in small sections. Start with a 1-meter patch, bring it to life, plant in it, then move to the next section. This method was common historically because people just couldn't afford to exhaust themselves working an entire field at once. Over time, the small restored patches merge into a fully rejuvenated garden. If this guide helped you reclaim your soil and gave you techniques grounded in both history and practical modern survival gardening, make sure you subscribe to Farm Logic. Share this with someone who's struggling with dead ground and wants to build real resilience from the soil up.